Welcome to Demon School Irma-kun is an overall great show. As someone who's both read the manga and the anime, I'm excited to see where this series will go. However, in both the manga and the anime, there's one question that hasn't really been answered. It's been mentioned, but not really elaborated on. And that is, why are each of the misfits in the misfit class? Of course, some of the students were given a reason why they ended up in the misfit class. Sapnok, because he beat up a teacher. Irma, Clara, and Asmodeus, because they're all friends with Irma, and Sullivan apparently wanted him to be friends in the same class. Some other ones may be Lead, because he sent a bunch of students to the hospital, and a thief, for obvious reasons, and a pervert. Another person who may be somewhat obvious but not mentioned is that Agarus is a sleepyhead and probably would slack off in his schoolwork. But that doesn't really answer why the school's smartest person academically is in the class, and why Carolee, who's just an average student, and some other people like Nissan, who are in the class as well. And he, the kindest student ever. Why are they in the class? That's not really answered. And it's kind of odd to have Nissan, who's known for being pretty and such, to be in the same class as a pervert. That'd be a bit as a hazard, huh? Of course, I have a theory on this, and it kind of branches off another theory that is popular in this show. And that is that Irma is going to be the future Demon King. And that Sullivan knows this, and that's why he chose Irma. Well, in this video, I'm going to be elaborating on why each student of the Misfit class was chosen, and I'm going to be showing some of the things on why I think the Misfit class is this way, with some evidence from the show. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about the theory of that Irma might be the future Demon King. So let's go. The basis for this theory is this one scene at the end of the Harvest Festival arc, where right before Irma and Lead, when they are making the flower thing, Dracula comes up and says, "So you're the one, huh?" Of course, this branches off the theory of that Alec Reed is Dracula, and it's practically canon now, because the names are the same in reverse, they have the same voice actor, and such as that. If you look it up, there's a lot of facts in the manga about it, and that basically proves it, including a basic scene that was quite recent in the manga a few months ago that was released. But regardless of that, even if that theory is true or not, this is based on the fact that I think that Dracula made the Harvest Festival to select the next Demon King after he's gone. Why? Because I think Dracula would want a future Demon King to be kind. I always found it odd how in the Harvest Festival, they had the entire thing, like the sole thing where you could win, like a basically guaranteed win, is that if you're kind enough to save somebody. And that kind of goes against demon core values, as the fact that Irma taught the meaning of friendship to them, but apparently they still... And overall, demons are portrayed as, creatures that are selfish and such. So why would the Demon King, why would the school of this school, Babulus, create a test where demons have to be nice, save someone, and work together with the power of friendship, be nice to animals, to become the next Demon King? Well, not to become the next Demon King, but to win a festival in school. A school that's really meant to not teach you how to be kind or anything. That's not even a core value, because they didn't even know what friendship was. That's kind of odd to me. So, I thought into it. It's obvious, it's mentioned that Dracula went to the school, as he had classroom in the Royal One. So, my theory is that he made the Harvest Festival to find the next Demon King who has the same core values as him. Another basis for this theory is that even after the Harvest Festival, is that Sullivan is next to Irma and they have a conversation. Irma asks, "Why are the cherry blossoms here?" Maybe in different words. And Sullivan just looks at him and dodges the question. I think because Sullivan knows who did this, and I think the basis of the Harvest Festival was that once Sullivan and Dracula and they find the next Demon King, the flowers of the cherry blossoms bloom, showing a unity that the next Demon King has been found who can create a unity between the human and the demon world. I think this is also proven by the name. The people who win the Harvest Festival, known as the Young King. I feel like it should be mentioned that Dracula created the Harvest Festival, as it would be kind of slanderous to use Young King to a thing, but they wouldn't become it. I think it's like Dracula, long ago, he made the Harvest Festival, and it's kind of like an old fairy tale now that Dracula created the Harvest Festival, and now the people named Young King are the person who did it. When we see Dracula, whisper to Irma, so you're the one. When he creates a legend leaf, I think it's, so you're the one who's going to succeed me as the Demon King. I think that's the overall basis. So now that we've established that Dracula, he created the Harvest Festival to choose the next Demon King, then we can assume that he thinks the school has a part in choosing the next Demon King. Now that Sullivan, he is a part of this, I think Sullivan worked with him, as Sullivan likely knows the answer by the way he looked at Irma, but he decided to not tell him, as it's probably a prophecy, which I think is true. So now that Sullivan knows, we know that Sullivan created classrooms for the School of Babylus. That's why he put Clara and Asmodeus in the same class, so that way Irma has his friends in it. But everyone else, why would he purposely put his grandson in a classroom with a bunch of seemingly bad people at first glance? I mean, I get the reason he gave is so that people stand out more than Irma. But that doesn't really make sense, does it? Because at that point, Irma didn't really have that much magic. Although he did make a tidal wave on the first day of school, it could probably be assumed that he would just blend in. But he put him in a class with a bunch of other students who are super duper bad. Well, my theory is that he made this class as the people who are potential candidates to be part of the 13 crowns. And each student has a very special talent, and that is way overpowered from the rest of the class. Manga spoilers, but when each character reaches Dalit, the fourth thing, they are already super duper overpowered compared to the rest of the School of Babylus. And this is a remarkable feat, as it's super duper remarkable just for one of them to reach Dalit, and yet the entire class did. That can't be a coincidence that they're all part of the same class. We don't know any other student who's in first year who's reached Dalit yet. It's not really mentioned. I'm sure we would have seen it, and especially because some of the demons in the class are considered weak, such as Carolee, and that's kind of odd too. So I'm going to go over each of the demons' special talents and what essential part I think they would be of the 13 crowns. I'm going to start out with the main trio. Irma, who's likely to become the Demon King, he has all the core values of the next Demon King. Next we have Clara and Asmodeus. Clara, I think her bloodline magic is super duper overpowered, and if she nurtures it enough, it could be potentially one of the best powers in the entire Netherworld. We don't know anything about her dad, but we do have a theory that he is a deity, and that's kind of, it could be theorized that that's why she doesn't show her wings. But that's not the point. Her what she calls a toy box, it can be put inside of anything, as shown in the Harvest Festival when she puts inside her suit. So what could she hide in there? Could she potentially create an entire, city world in there? To save the entire Netherworld? And how many items can she create that can potentially, be amazing for the Netherworld? If she nurtures that enough, we could have so much for the Netherworld. Then we have Asmodeus. We don't know his bloodline magic, but it's likely super duper overpowered, considering that his mother is part of the 13 crowns. We don't know anything about his father as well, but we can assume that he has his mother's, as they already share a bunch of similar traits, and if we don't know anything about his dad, then it's probably likely. It's also theorized that Asmodeus' mother created him asexually, so he doesn't really have a dad, but that's just a theory. But it's likely he has his mother's bloodline and magic, so... But we already have a basis to know that he's super duper strong with his fire magic already, considering that he drew Dalit from the Wink Owl on the very first few episodes and chapters. Most people don't even reach Dalit by the end of the school year at Babylus. So how come he did that on the first day, basically on the first day of school? That's remarkable. So imagine all his potential And he's likely going to serve the role as Irma's, the Demon King's, loyal guard who's going to protect him and such. It's also likely that Clara and Asmodeus are going to be part of two of the three greats. Of course, we don't know who the third one is going to be, but I think it's going to be Sabnok. Of course, Sabnok, his reason for wanting to become the Demon King is because he thinks that's the absolute coolest thing a demon can be. But it's because he believes that. And that means beliefs can change. I think that one day in a future chapter, his beliefs will change and think, oh, the coolest thing you can be? That's becoming a worthy knight to save the entire demon realm, or whatever. And I think he's going to work hard, and since he has large passions, he's dedicated to becoming this goal, as he's been doing it since a child. I think he's going to be super strong in the future. So, basically, I think his definition of the coolest thing a demon can be is going to change by the end of the manga and series. Now let's go over the rest of the people who are likely to just be a crown, but it could change, as the 3 crowns may change throughout the series as we get introduced to more characters. But I think the entirety of the 13 crowns are going to stay within the class. A lot of people think that, well, before I go into all the classrooms, a lot of people say that Amory is going to become one of the 13 crowns if this theory is real. But I don't really think that. Although her dad is the Border Patrol chief, I think that she's going to succeed her father. Not only because she has a passionate love for humans from the manga that she's read, but she also is, spoilers for the manga, she is part human. So I think she's going to become the Demon Patrol leader, chief, whatever it's called. And she's going to work on that to try to unite the demon world and the human realm. And it's kind of going to be a part of her, and she's going to join it. So that way she can achieve that goal. And Irma shares that goal. So even if you want them to be a couple, then that's good for you. Okay, now let's go into some of the more obvious members of the cast, like Person Soy. Although we just met him in the anime series, in the manga, he has had quite a few scenes. I think he's going to become the demon world spy. I think a lot of political tensions are going to rise. There's going to be factions, and I think he's a perfect choice to become a spy, as he is super nonchalant, and he can, not nonchalant, but he can make himself invisible. So I think, if possible, he might be able to go to the human realm and work as a spy there in the demon realm, so that way to ensure peace is continued. Another obvious one, I think, is Agaris, as he could potentially change a lot of infrastructure for the demon realm and potentially change it a lot. And I think that if he is not part of 13 crowns, then I think it would be a huge shame for everyone else, because with his talents, with his bloodline ability, the entire demon realm could be saved from a lot of spending money. Although some of it can be used by magic, clearly it's not that popular, considering no one else did that during the Harvest Festival. Next up, we have Lead. Lead's ability doesn't seem that strong at first, considering as currently he can only affect one target at once. However, we have a glimpse of what his power can go by his sister, who's potentially able to paralyze an entire person just by herself. And she's in the Demon Border Patrol, and I think that's super duper overpowered. And if she continues to nurture the talent, she might be able to do that to an entire room of people, and it might be good. There's also Kaylee, who I don't think her actual magic powers of ice are going to be used. I think she's going to be using the power of being the Dem Doll. Let me explain. So basically, I think that if she becomes part of 13 Crowns, she's going to help relieve people's tension, considering that a lot of people are probably going to be angry if the human world and the demon world are united. A lot of people's evil cycles are on the rise, and if the demon world and the human realm are united, then a lot of people may be getting a lot of intrusive, urges and such, and Kaylee's job will be to calm that down. And she might be able to do it worldwide if she's granted the power of the 13 crowns. The next up, we have we have Nissan. If she continues to nurture her ability, then she might be able to gather the favor of everyone in the netherworld and convince them to be okay with having humans. Wait. I'm sorry. I forgot to further explain about the human thing. I think Welcome to Demon School, Irma-kun. I think the entire thing, I think Irma's true goal, if he becomes Demon King, is going to be to unite demon and the human realm. Considering a lot of Dracula foreshadowing is kind of like that, as the prophecy scroll states that they're going to be able to heal every demon with blood, and a bunch of cherry blossom things. I think it basically shows that that's going to be his true goal. He also said that during one of the arcs in the manga, so manga spoilers, that he wants everyone to live together peacefully. So I think that's going to be his goal. Okay, now we have a few more people to go over. Next up, we have Kim Kamui, I think. And his bloodline ability is able to talk to all humans and creatures and such. Friendship, which at first glance this seems obvious. But I think he's gonna, well, we already know that in the manga, spoilers for the manga, it's mentioned that Sullivan got the spell and he helped to create it. And I think it's implied to be Kamui's family who helped him create the spell, then I think they're going to be able to make the spell more widespread to help all demons and humans talk and be together, basically. With also Garth Goman, which in case that name doesn't sound familiar, it's the kind guy with a bunch of white hair. And I think he's going to help protect people with the tensions of the demons. And I think a lot of his sword work is going to be really amazing to have when it's explored. Now we have 2 characters left, and these 2 characters, I have quite a bit of theorizing to do about them. The first character, who's probably less like a bit more obvious, well, less obvious, but I have less theorizing to about him, is Andrew M. Jazz. At first glance, his bloodline ability is that he can see through other people's things and he can spot items. But what if he can evolve his ability into seeing that he can actually see through people and he can see other things other than just items, like their true intentions? This might be very useful whenever they're scanning people if they're able to interact with humans. If they're able to see the true intentions, then it would honestly be perfect. And, of course, a lot of his other family members, they're already evolved, kind of. But I feel like evolution can happen in multiple ways. Of course, if you continue down one path and have that goal in mind, an obvious goal, then I think it'll go in that path. But if you stray away from that path, you can still evolve in just a different way. And I think that's how his evolution is going to go. Okay, now we have this one character I've been dreading to talk about. Why? Because honestly, it's kind of an odd person. We have Alistair Snyder. At first glance, he's the top of his class academically, so that's already should be a reason enough. But other than that, he doesn't really have that many talents. And I feel like he's gonna turn evil, or he has some secret side to him. The first thing, he's kind of separated from the misfit class. He's one of the characters who frequently hangs out with other people in the class, and he doesn't really tell much to the other kids in the class. One of them is that in the manga, he has a bunch of girls over, and he's basically growing a relationship with one of the teacher's children. And the misfit class doesn't really know this, as they have to guess. So I don't think he really hangs out. And also, during the Harvest Festival, he's one of the few students who doesn't actually use the bloodline ability to help. And he's also one of the few students where we don't know his bloodline ability. A lot of people in the misfit class, they evolved on the bloodline ability, and use that to their advantage. But not him. Well, they use their special talent, bloodline ability, or like something from the first few episodes. Of course, that can be said for some of the other characters, like Asmodeus, but as though, like, it's still something that's, like, off about him. First things first, we know that he used his knowledge to talk with the teacher, and we've seen a lot of evolution of those that talk with the teacher has done for him. But I feel like he has some secret motive. Well, a little side theory. I think he's a spy. Why? Well, first things first. Well, I've said that a lot in this thing. But his familiar is named Smart Hawk. And what are hawks known for? Spying. We also don't know basically anything about his family. He has a father, but it's unnamed. And we honestly don't know much about him other than that. He's kind of one of the background students. Of course, Person Soy was a bit of a background student, but he gets evolution a lot in the manga. But he's one of the few characters where we don't know it. He's also one of the few beast characters. Of course, there's Kamui. But other than him, we're basically kind of drowned. We don't really have that many beast characters. So I think it's a bit odd. And also, his eyes are kind of vacant. It's like, it kind of looks like a mask. It doesn't look real. I also think it's odd how he was paired with Jazz during the Harvest Festival. Even if he doesn't really have that many abilities that would be beneficial to basically manipulation and knowing people what they were being taught during it. So I think that's kind of like foreshadowing a bit. Not just Yuma, and I think also we don't really know all potential demon class candidates. He's not really a problem to know it, and maybe something else because I don't think it's likely that he's hit him in a class. But I don't really see what Sullivan, as no one really knew about him before. Well, I think that he's one of the few students that Sullivan did not. But I think his relationship with Professor Furcus was very odd to a spy to kind of spy one conversation, but he's like evolved that thing. Grandson, like no one purposely. So I think if anything, I don't think he's doing be a part just because of the 13 crowns, unless he has some actual serious character evolution. Of course he could, and he could be like a fallen hero who becomes a villain, who becomes like a savior and such. But in all seriousness, I think he's gonna become like a villain, or he's gonna betray a bunch of people, and maybe Omri is gonna take a place and become, in her father's shoes, the next border patrol chief, and such as that. Another point I would like to add, unrelated to Alistair, is that I think the Demon King candidates not the Demon King candidates. I think that the great, 13 crowns, I think they all have the prophecy scroll. And I think that's what he did to create the next class of the Misfits. I mean, it's kind of odd that only the Demon King would have the prophecy scroll. And we all know the only reason he got the prophecy, Sabnok got to read the prophecy scroll, is because of his uncle, who is the 13th crown. However, other than that, no one else really knows it, and it's not public knowledge. So it's likely that crown candidates, they have a prophecy scroll. And I think Sullivan used this scroll to create the Misfit class. Well, in all, I hope you guys like this theory, and I'm sorry if I talked too fast or if it's a bit difficult to understand, but I think I'm going to do a video more in depth on some of the smaller theories I made in this video, especially on Alistair, because I feel like he's very sus. So I think I'm going to do a rewatch of the entire series and reread the manga to see if there's any scenes and stuff that I want to point out that can be helping to this theory, as I read the manga in one go, so I kind of forgot some bits of it. And it's been a while since I did a full rewatch of the anime, as I mainly just rewatch the episodes that I want to watch. Well, anyway, this is my Saturday theory, so I hope you guys enjoy, and bye!